interesting article just printed by DS News. Will projected price declines drive pandemic home buyers underwater? This article is very interesting because the essence of it, the title looks very doom and gloom. It looks very negative. Once you get into the article, which again, you could find on DS News, you'll actually see that the author is pretty optimistic. Their whole point is, look, a lot of markets in the West Coast that are very, very cyclical, they're going to drop. They're going to drop by a decent percentage, and they're at risk to fall underwater, which I totally agree with. That totally makes sense. I talk about linear and cyclical markets all the time. A linear market, somewhere in rural Oklahoma, suburbs of Pennsylvania, markets like that around the country where no matter what the market does, there's not a huge shift up or down. You're looking at worst case 7 to 10% on average, and that's a bad economy. That's a bad market shift, 7 to 10% linear. A cyclical is more like Los Angeles, New York, Phoenix, San Diego, those big, huge metro markets where when the market's up, it's way, way, way up, and then a buyer's market swings way, way, way down. So this article, it doesn't say linear and cyclical. That's just how I interpret it. But what they're saying is the people who bought during the pandemic in a lot of the markets that are cyclical can be in trouble. However, it says that a lot of the other markets, even if there was a drop of 7%, 10%, 12%, the home values right now are so high that the author is saying that it doesn't really make that big of a difference. They're still not going to be underwater. A very small percentage of people who purchased in a lot of these markets are going to fall underwater because the values are so high. I agree with the author there. Here's where I think they could have did a bit of a better job in explaining all of the examples they were giving of, if the market dips by X amount in 2023, people aren't going to be underwater. That's great. That's obvious. But what they could have did was they could have expanded that, because I agree. I don't think there's a doom and gloom crash coming in 2023. Like a lot of people say, a national crash at least. I think it's going to take a year or two at least for prices to come all the way down in a lot of these markets, because remember, they're so inflated. The market was so unrealistically inflated during the pandemic and during the crazy interest rates, the crazy low interest rates, that prices were driven so far up that it needs time to come back down to reality. I agree with this article when they say that it's not going to happen immediately in 2023. So therefore, I do agree with their point that a lot of people who purchased, they're not going to be under water right away. Now, again, I would extend this if it were me, and I would clarify that after 2023, it's a much different market. It's a fair ball game. I do think a lot of people are going to go underwater in these next couple of years. I really do. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but what goes up must come down. And it went way, way, way up, and we're still up there. So in turn, it's going to come way, way, way down. I'm going to scroll down here at the end of the article. I'm going to finish this up. Makes a good point about Florida. Homeowners in many parts of Florida are even less likely to fall underwater. So with a 4% home price drop in 2023, the author says less than 0.5% of homeowners who bought in these last 2 years in places in South Florida would be underwater. Here's where I disagree a bit. So I agree in the fact that South Florida is insanely inflated. So yeah, and there's a lot of demand in Florida. There's a lot of demand. So inflated prices plus a lot of demand, people still moving here, equals high prices remaining. Totally agree. But in that 0.5% of homeowners, it's going to be more than 0.5% because it does not factor in other kind of liens and encumbrances that could come up. Also, it doesn't factor in, there were some people that paid way over market value. Even though market value is high right now, it's inflated, there's people that still overpaid. especially in the areas that they list there, Miami, Lauderdale, Palm Beach. I'm telling you, people overpaid to the point where even a little dip in the market can potentially put them underwater. It's not everybody, but I disagree with that statistic that it would only be a 0.5% of homeowners. No way in hell. It's definitely more than a 0.5% if that happens.